What is harder to break? Alcohol, pornography, or phone addiction?
Oh, that's such a good question.
What's been the hardest for you?
To just always like speak in the most truthful way. I think pornography is something that's really difficult to come away from because it's a very private behavior and none of society knows that anyone else is doing it because it's like an isolated behavior. Whereas often if you were really heavily drinking, it would be quite apparent to your partner or your friends, family, and so on.
It's more of a shared experience.
It's more of a shared experience. And even if you end up drinking on your own, it's going to become quite obvious to other people that you're now drinking on your own and so on.
You can't hide it. Yeah,
you can't
smell
hide it.
Breath and you'd be like, oh, okay, what are they doing? Yeah.
Whereas pornography is very easy to hide. And therefore, when a number of years ago, maybe 4 years ago or so, I started thinking, okay, I've got to get dialed in on the dopamine. I need to like come off alcohol. And for me, like that was the necessary step because I couldn't manage alcohol. And then it was like really think about the food, think about all these different steps. And then pornography was this one whereby I'd be able to come off it for a period of time, but there'd always be that like temptation to re-engage with that behavior. And it is like a challenging conversation to have, pornography. I feel like society isn't really considering it. But in terms of the elevation in dopamine, it's absolutely insane. And in order to understand that, you only have to think about how much pleasure you experience and how rapidly you experience that pleasure when you engage with it. And then you know how big of a deal it is. Right. And when you compare, say, scrolling your Instagram reels to pornography, you'll notice you feel much more pleasurable during the pornography because of the hyperdopamine stimulation. So where alcohol, social media, porn, they've all been challenging to come away from, I would say, porn is probably the most difficult.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's got the greatest high in our brain chemistry over, short form videos, vaping, and alcohol?
I think it's interesting this because I also wasn't someone that was like a super porn addict in terms of like, it's not like someone that would be like engaging with it all day, every day and stuff like that. I was someone that just grew up as a teenager and that was just like an option of like, oh yeah, you can watch porn. So that's like a thing you can do. And then if I was ever engaging with the behavior of masturbation, it would be always accompanied by porn because I just thought that's the given thing. When you look at, would it be more of a dopaminergic stimulation than social media and alcohol? I think you always have to go into like a deeper philosophical, spiritual idea of what is porn tapping into from a human innate desire point of view, and where humans would have really sought after social connection. That was like fundamental to our survival, with social media and alcohol being kind of modern versions of social connection. They're both driven by our pursuit of interacting with other humans. Pornography is really tapping into the desire to procreate, and there's nothing stronger in a human than the desire to procreate. So I do think it's tapping even deeper into that instinctive driver within us.
Interesting. And what happens when you have a false sense of procreation on a consistent basis through pornography?
What I basically believe the brain evolved to do throughout these like hundreds of thousands of years was simply discover the process of survival and how it can be optimized, which is a given. Like obviously we've managed to survive to this point and survival is important. When you look specifically at dopamine, like why is it really living within our brain? It effectively lives within our brain to reward us for behaviors that are advantageous to our survival. To survive. So in that moment that the fire struck, after rubbing rocks together for 3 hours, a massive dopamine hit comes because that would have been it would have been so annoying doing that. Yeah. Like you think how easy our lives are now. Imagine actually coming home from a day of work and then doing that for 3 hours until you got some fire. Like it was hard. And we needed a chemical that every single day just drove us to keep making the fire and keep looking for the food, even when it was freezing cold outside and so on. And we got here as a species. And just like dopamine evolved as this very sophisticated mechanism to reward survival, activities that promoted survival, I think it has the same capacity to negatively create experiences that are disadvantageous to survival of us and our prospering as a species. And then if you look, rather than having to like look on Instagram at a list of what's good for my dopamine and what's bad for my dopamine, if you simply ask yourself the question, is this actually advantageous to my survival as a species? Then you will know immediately whether it's pro or not pro for your dopamine. And you look at pornography, if you go further with pornography, a society that only watches porn as an engagement of sex is actually going to be one that doesn't procreate at all. And the brain is only going to send society a stronger and stronger message saying, please stop engaging with that path, because that's not going to lead to a prospering society in 1,000 years. And if you think of it with when you feel crap after cigarettes, or you feel crap after spending a whole day socially isolated from being on your phone all day, or the ultra processed food. All of it is a very sophisticated message from our biochemistry as a result of our brain's desire to prosper for thousands of years.
Wow. That's interesting. How hard is it going to be for society to stop engaging in pornography?
Tough.
Because it seems like it's just everywhere, especially with young men, right? It's like, it's part of the culture. It seems like it's accessible. I'm assuming there's a lot of shame still, but it's more acceptable, I guess, for younger men. I don't know what it's like.
I definitely don't think
you're in your late 20s,
late
right?
20s.
So what are men in their teens and 20s that you work with? What are they saying about it?
I definitely don't think people feel that much like remorse or guilt or shame for engaging with it. It's definitely a very normalized behavior, just like it's normal to get super drunk. Like that's not necessarily that judged across the world. Pornography, I don't feel is that judged. I think it would vary from gender to gender and generation to generation, how people thought about it. Certainly in the world of being in your 20s, I don't think it's a very judged action. And I do think it's a very hard thing for society to come away from. It's also evolving in terms of virtual reality is going to create a very difficult experience. I can't even imagine what that will do to dopamine. And all of that lane is becoming faster and faster. I dread the day that pornography has a feed like Instagram Reels, where you don't even have to watch one video, but you could watch videos at pace. That would be hell. I shouldn't even give them that idea. Don't give them that idea.
My goodness, man.
And I believe the only path to coming away from it is very, very deeply observing how it's actually impacting your life. Because what happens with all this dopamine stuff is you just think, I feel okay. Maybe you do struggle with feeling like depressed or anxious, and then you really need to start considering like how your lifestyle is creating that experience potentially. But a lot of people might feel quite neutral. They're like, I feel all right. It's not really doing too much damage. And with all the different, particularly men that engage with this, but women do too, that we guide, they come away from it for a week. They say, okay, 7 days, I'm just not going to watch porn. And they're like uneasy as to whether that's even going to do anything for them. And they're like, I don't really want to lose that like pleasurable experience that I have in my life. And you rapidly see a change in motivation and attention when you come away from it. You really quickly see the ability to just take action on whatever you're wanting to do. Like, I want to go to the gym. I want to go for a walk in the morning, so apparently they're good for you. Or I want to work hard. You see a shift. And it's simply because like just before you're going to sleep, in that nice regenerative dopamine experience of sleep, just before that, you're just having this huge spike crash off sleep and you're waking up with a lower dopamine level. And if you can end the day with a healthier experience, you're going to wake up with a higher regeneration of dopamine. And then you're going to think, okay, I'm ready to attack the day. And it's important.
Thank you for watching this video. If you want more inspiring clips like this, make sure to click right here to subscribe and click right here to watch that next video that is specific to support you in your life.